Today feels different for Taurus, and once you know why, you will not be able to unsee it. Two very different forces are moving through your chart at once, one quiet and internal, one loud and ambitious, and the tension between them is exactly what makes Friday, July 31st, worth paying attention to. Let us start with what is actually happening up there, because everything else in your day traces back to it. From the Western tropical perspective, you are currently living inside a longer cycle, centered on your 12th house, the zone of solitude, dreams, therapy, meditation, and anything that happens behind closed doors. This is not a one-day transit. It has been unfolding for most of the year, and it often shows up as a pull toward things that are hard to explain to other people. Journaling at odd hours, a sudden interest in tarot or the I Ching, a need to sit with a feeling instead of fixing it immediately. What one person calls avoidance, another calls necessary retreat, and this cycle asks you to trust your own definition rather than anyone else's. At the same time, today's moon is doing something specific. It sits in your 10th house of career, and it is forming a smooth, supportive angle with Mars in your 2nd house of finances. In plain terms, the part of your chart that governs ambition is talking directly to the part that governs money and resources, and they are getting along. This kind of alignment tends to correspond with moments where timing, effort, and value line up in a way that feels almost too convenient. It does not happen every day, so when it does, it is worth noticing. And here is where the picture gets a layer richer. Vedic astrology, working from a different zodiac calculation entirely, places the moon in Aquarius today, and in that sidereal tradition, an Aquarius moon is associated with sharpened mental output, future planning, and unusually clear thinking. So while the Western lens sees today's moon fueling career ambition through its link to Mars, the Vedic lens sees that same moon energizing your mind's ability to plan and organize. Two different systems, two different lenses, both pointing toward the same underlying truth. Your head is unusually clear today, and your ambition has somewhere useful to go. That is the setup. But here is what almost gets lost in the excitement of a good career alignment. You are also inside that quieter 12th house cycle, the one asking you to slow down and go inward. Most people would assume these two energies cancel each other out. They do not. Let us talk about what this actually feels like in your relationships first. You may have noticed a pull lately toward conversations that go deeper than small talk, or a reluctance to perform emotional openness just because someone expects it. That tracks. With the introspective cycle still active, significant interactions today deserve real attention rather than autopilot responses, but that does not mean you owe everyone full access to your inner world. Following your gut here, rather than dismissing a lingering feeling because it is inconvenient, tends to serve you better than forcing a resolution before you are ready. If a partner or close friend brings something up today, the placement favors a willing, curious mindset over a defensive one. Take a breath before responding if you need to. Nobody watching this expects you to have every answer immediately. Now here is the pivot, because your professional life is where today's energy gets loud. That Moon-Mars trine we talked about is not subtle in its effects. If you have been waiting for a natural opening to advocate for yourself, this is one of the more favorable windows you will get this month. A measured dose of audacity could make a real difference right now, especially if there is a higher up, an influencer in your field, or a prominent client in the room. This is not about hiding your ambition or pretending you do not want more. It is about naming your version of success out loud to someone positioned to help you reach it. Pick one priority. Just one. Something that would genuinely strengthen your position this week if you moved on it today. Define what success looks like before you walk into the conversation, and if compensation or budget comes up, speak plainly and give yourself room to review the details rather than agreeing on the spot. Which brings us naturally to money, because ambition without a financial container tends to evaporate. The same alignment that is boosting your career instincts is asking you to get specific about value rather than vague about worry. Diligent planning, not anxious rumination, is what tends to lead to financial security under this kind of sky. The Vedic layer adds an interesting note here too. With mental clarity elevated today, there is a genuine pull toward bigger purchases, whether that is a car, a property, or some other significant investment. That pull is real, but a strong urge to buy is not the same as a green light to buy. Let today's clarity go toward research and planning first. Decisions made from a grounded, well-reviewed place tend to age much better than ones made from excitement alone. Here is what makes today genuinely worth paying attention to, and it is easy to miss if you are only looking at one part of your chart. You are simultaneously being asked to advocate loudly for your ambitions and to retreat quietly into your own inner world, and most people would read that as a contradiction. It is not. The 12th house work, the meditation, the journaling, the sitting with uncomfortable feelings is what is actually sharpening the clarity that is making today's career conversation possible in the first place. Your solitude is not competing with your ambition today. It is fueling it. That is the kind of detail most horoscopes skip entirely, and it is the piece that actually explains why you might feel both driven and reflective on the very same day. With that in mind, let us talk about how your body and mind are carrying all of this. The introspective cycle we have been tracking often shows up physically as fatigue that is not quite explainable, or a need for more rest than your schedule allows. That is not a warning sign so much as information. Some Vedic practitioners might point to specific remedies, like particular gemstones or mantras, for people navigating a heavier version of this kind of introspective period, but that kind of prescription genuinely requires a full birth chart analysis, including planetary dignity and timing, and is not something that applies universally to every Taurus watching this. What is universally safe and worth trying today is simpler. A short meditation, 10 minutes with a journal, or even just sitting quietly with a difficult thought instead of scrolling past it. If you have been feeling drawn to therapy, counseling, or some form of structured reflection lately, this cycle may be part of why, and there is no need to overanalyze that pull. Let it be an invitation rather than a mystery to solve. At home, this same energy tends to play out as a preference for smaller, quieter gatherings over big social obligations. If you have noticed yourself declining invitations that would normally excite you, that is consistent with what is active in your chart right now, not a sign that something's wrong with you. Family conversations today may carry more emotional weight than usual, so if something meaningful comes up with someone close to you, the placement favors giving it real space rather than rushing past it. There is also a travel thread worth naming. The energy today carries a mild pull toward new locations, and if the opportunity to visit somewhere unfamiliar presents itself, it may offer more perspective than you would expect from a short trip. Pair that with the ongoing introspective cycle, and you get something like a pilgrimage rather than a vacation, even if it is just a day trip across town. Sometimes distance is what makes an internal shift finally click into place, the way stepping outside a house lets you finally see its whole shape. For anyone who wants the quick, practical details, the hours between 1 p.m. and 2:30 p.m. carry a slightly more favorable charge today, according to Vedic timing traditions, making that window worth using for anything requiring focus or a difficult conversation. Yellow is considered a fortunate color to wear today in that same tradition. And if you are the kind of person who tracks these things, today favors decisiveness over hesitation, but only after a moment of quiet reflection first. So here is where that leaves you. Pick the one professional priority that matters most this week and take a real step toward it today while this alignment is active. Give yourself permission to sit with whatever's been surfacing internally, rather than pushing it aside because you are busy. If a financial decision is calling to you, let today's clarity inform your research rather than your final signature. And if a meaningful conversation, personal or professional, presents itself in that early afternoon window, do not shrink from it. What makes today worth remembering is not just the alignment of Moon and Mars, or the mental clarity borrowed from an Aquarius moon. It is the reminder that your quietest, most private work and your most public ambitions were never actually separate projects. They are the same project, seen from two different angles. If this is the day something finally clicked into place for you, you know exactly where to say so. And if you are still in the middle of figuring it out, that is exactly where you are supposed to be.